Wow, that worked. Hi, everyone. I'm Rita Michael, and I'll be introducing a couple of people to you this morning. But first, there are a few housekeeping items I'd like to go over. Probably one of the most important things is thank you to all of the sponsors, exhibitors, and advertisers. And it would be great if all of the attendees would thank all of those people. Without all those people, this conference would not be possible, because what we pay in registration fees just does not cut it. So make sure you go to the exhibit hall during the breaks and talk to each of the exhibitors and thank them for being here. Okay. We have raffle tickets in the exhibit hall or at registration. They take cash or credit, and the winners will be announced during open exhibit hours. This year we have something new called Hot Topics. These are 20-minute talks in the exhibit hall. Please check your schedule in your reference guide or on the Hot Topics board in the exhibit hall. These are non-credited talks, but they are going to be very informative, and we think you guys will like them a lot. There's a new member orientation. If you joined PFAC since August 1st of last year, stop by and learn all about the organization. You can learn the benefits of being a PFAC member, and that reception is today at 6:15 in the Bayside room. On Friday at 4:30, we're holding the annual member meeting. If you're a voting member of PFAC, which is General, Associate, Charter, or Emeritus, please come by and hear what we all have to say. The Board of Directors will be there, and we have a presentation of information for you. We will also be inducting the new board, so please come. Also, we need a quorum for that meeting, so last year we were a little bit short. We had to go out and find a few more folks to add up to the right number, so if you just come, we won't have to do that. Another new thing we're doing this year is Share Your Story. So PFAC is collecting inspiring and positive stories about your work as a fiduciary. We're collecting these stories, and they will be printed and available through digital communication later this year. I understand we're doing something with them on the new website, so that'll be pretty exciting. So this is your chance to think about your most interesting case or clients, and tell us all about it. I'm sure there'll be really interesting stories, because we all know we all have interesting stories, right? Let's see, what else? Okay, well, last but not least is the wine tasting. So today at 4:15 to 6 in the exhibit hall, there's going to be wine tasting from Northern California wineries who have donated their products. So we look forward to that as well. Okay. All right, one last thing is, over the last year we lost a few of our esteemed colleagues, and there will be a room available this afternoon for people to gather and honor their friends and, just sort of get together and do that as an in memoriam type of time. So. All right, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our platinum sponsor, Andrew DeVries.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. I hope everybody looks around the room and sees how big this crowd is. This is really a special meeting. I'm a real estate broker. I've had the honor of working with professional fiduciaries for the last 15 years, and in that time have been able to work with them on over 600 fiduciary sales with and without court confirmation. So I had the honor of being at probably the last 14 PFAC conferences, and they started out as very small groups, a few vendors. It was really a different thing, and I almost think there should be an informal theme this year, which is surround yourself with the best. You are now in a group with a lot of people and a lot of really excellent resources that weren't available to folks in the beginning. I had the honor of helping my mother start her fiduciary business. I made her first marketing brochure over 20 years ago. And at that time, you were basically kind of making it up as you go along. So with the idea of surrounding yourself with the best, I just want to encourage everybody to, not just in here, of course, talk to the people that have senior experience. They really have seen things and know things that you just can't learn in a textbook that's not being taught. And then out in the exhibit hall and the advertisers and the sponsors are folks that have been here for a long time. Merrill Lynch, great folks. Some of the top attorneys, Acuna Regley, Kevin Urbach, Peter Myers. There's a great real estate broker down in Southern California, Nancy Sanborn, who's also with Berkshire Hathaway like me. I mean, these are folks that have been doing this a long time and can help you jumpstart your business. I sell real estate all over the Bay Area, and I would love to work with folks that I haven't gotten a chance to work with this year. So surround yourself with the best. It will make you successful here in 2017, and I do wish everybody continued success. So thank you.
Okay. This morning, we also have the honor of introducing the new Bureau Chief for the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau, Rebecca May.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Thank you, President Rita Michael, board members and conference attendees, for allowing me to address you today. As you may know, I was appointed last week by Governor Brown as the Chief of the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau. I don't start in my official capacity with the Bureau until this Monday, but I wanted to come to the conference to introduce myself and to learn, better educate myself about the profession. Before I tell you about the role and functions of the Bureau and how they impact you as a professional fiduciary, I'd like to tell you more about myself and to introduce you to the Bureau's hardworking team. I hope you are not too terribly disappointed to find out that I am not a professional fiduciary. I don't even play one on TV. My expertise instead lies with professional licensure, helping to shape pending legislation so that it puts consumers first without being overly burdensome on the professionals. I try. I've been with the Department of Consumer Affairs, the entity that oversees the Bureau, for the last 2.5 years, working in both the Legislative and Regulatory Review Division and Board and Bureau Relations. Before joining the DCA family, I worked for the governor in his appointments unit, and prior to that, I spent 11 years with the legislature. So clearly, I started working when I was 12. While with the legislature, I spent 5 years with the Assembly Business and Professions Committee, which exercises legislative oversight of the various professions under the Department of Consumer Affairs, including professional fiduciaries. With me here today is Angela Quadra. Stand. Angela has been the longest-serving employee with the Bureau since 2009, and luckily for me, is a wealth of institutional knowledge. She's the Bureau's program analyst, and she assists with licensing and renewals, legislation and regulation, outreach, and coordinating our advisory committee meetings. Thank you, Angela. So, though she's not here at the moment, I want to tell you about Jenny Turner, who you may have met before. She's the Bureau's licensing analyst and is often the first point of contact for licensees at the Bureau. She processes all incoming applications for licensure and works closely with people through the application and examination process until they're licensed. So Angela and Jenny will be hosting tables during the luncheon sessions today and tomorrow, and providing an overview of the Bureau and to answer any questions you might have about our office. I also encourage you to please stop by our exhibitor's booth if you have any questions about the Bureau or would just like to say hi. For those of you who are new to PFAC, I'd like to provide a brief overview of the Bureau. The Bureau is responsible for the licensure and regulation of non-family member fiduciaries, as defined by the Professional Fiduciaries Act. The Bureau is sometimes confused with PFAC when it comes time to renew your license. However, the Bureau and PFAC are separate entities. The Bureau is one of 39 licensing programs under the Department of Consumer Affairs. The Bureau's highest priority is protecting consumers through licensing, regulatory, and disciplinary functions. We do that in several ways: by ensuring that only qualified individuals are licensed, by promoting the standards of professional and ethical conduct among licensees, by implementing the laws enacted by the legislature through the regulatory process, by investigating all complaints, and by taking disciplinary and administrative actions against licensees when necessary. Since its inception in 2008, the Bureau has licensed 988 professional fiduciaries. There are currently 726 active licensees in California, and our numbers show that California's professional fiduciaries manage approximately $8 billion in assets for their clients. Outreach and education for both consumers and licensees are key to meeting our mission. Staff attend as many events as possible each year, including senior scam stopper events, senior fairs, fraud fairs, and of course, this conference. This is the fourth one that the Bureau has attended. The Bureau and professional fiduciaries have a very similar purpose. You put your clients' needs first. You provide them with the best possible service, and you make the best possible decisions for them given the circumstances and resources available to you. Our mandate to hold consumer protection paramount and yours to act in the best interest of your clients makes us natural allies. To that end, we value your input as stakeholders and invite you to engage with us, whether in forums like today, or at our advisory committee meetings, or during the regulatory process. Our advisory committee meets quarterly, and these meetings are always open to the public and always available by webcast. We are currently working toward bringing our client notification regulation to its conclusion and appreciate all the feedback you have provided to help shape this regulation. All of the related documents to this reg can be found at the Bureau's website. I want you to know that I appreciate the pressures and challenges your line of work presents. This work can often be thankless, but you do it because you recognize the need to protect the most vulnerable among us. You do it with heart and soul, and I thank you for what you do on behalf of California's consumers. Angela, Jenny, and I will be attending educational sessions alongside you today and tomorrow, so please feel free to introduce yourself and ask any questions, though I am obliged to remind you I do not start until Monday, so please be gentle. Thank you again so much to PFAC for having me and for organizing such a great conference, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
And now we have one of our two co-chairs of the conference, Richard Lambie.
Great, thank you, Rita. We got a varying of size, height people here, so the microphone goes up and down. So it's my pleasure this morning to introduce Mr. Shawn Ellis. And Mr. Ellis is from a town called Nashville, and he doesn't speak like somebody from Nashville. But he'll explain that as we go through the presentation. It's been said we live in an age of distraction, and we're always in, always on, and we're trying to do more with less all of the time. And the pace of life accelerates, and the demands of work increases. So Shawn has the solution to all of our problems. So by the time you leave here this morning, you will know how to run your life, how to run your business. So Shawn's been involved in the world of professional and personal development for over 20 years. He's co-authored and worked with people like Marcus Buckingham, Jack Canfield, Tom Peters, and many other of the leaders in the industry of organization and being in the moment. So that's what we're stressing here. He's an entrepreneur and a small business owner, so he identifies with each of us as we run our small businesses. And what he's going to tell us is that there is a way to keep up with it all. It's not about learning how to do more faster, and this message has been described as a breath of fresh air. So more importantly, Shawn is a very active gentleman. The reason that he moved to Nashville was that he is a piano player. So obviously he's not playing piano for us today, but we should hope to hear more about that. He likes traveling and hiking and the outdoors. So we're looking forward to hearing from Shawn as he explains how to do more with less and to be in the moment. So I'd like to introduce, please, Mr. Shawn Ellis.
Thank you, Rich. Morning, y'all. How y'all doing? All right, well, I got to tell you, that is where my country accent stops. But when you hear there's a speaker coming from Nashville, I figured I couldn't hold back. So, it is really good to be here with you guys this morning. I got here last night and got a chance to walk around the reception area and kind of observe, take in the PFAC culture. And I'm just really sincerely grateful to be here with you guys. So thank you, by the way, Richard and David, everybody involved in speaker selection in bringing me here. But so when I found out that I was going to be speaking here, I always want to learn more about the audience and the people I'm talking to. So I had some conversations with some of you to learn more about the life and the work of a professional fiduciary. And I remember when I talked to Susan Gormley, or Susan, by the way, are you here? Hey, Susan, haven't had a chance to meet you yet. But Susan told me that you guys truly save people's lives. That when people need you, when a client needs you, you show up, you answer the call, no matter what time of day. You show up, you step up, and the clients can count on you. And I can only imagine how much that means to your clients. I'm not in the world of fiduciaries, obviously, but about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, my grandmother passed away, and my grandmother had lived with dementia for years. And actually, I have a picture. Well, I'm not from, I don't have a southern accent, but I am from the country. But this is my grandma and grandpa, and that's me a couple years ago. But so my grandma passed away about a year ago, and she lived the last several years of her life with dementia, something I know a lot of you guys are familiar with, and she didn't have a professional fiduciary. My mom was in that role, played that role, and I heard from my mom about the late night calls, the early morning calls. My mom managed her health care, her finances, her estate, and I saw how stressful that was for my mom. I heard about how that created challenges, we'll just leave it at that, challenges in the family between my mom and her two sisters. So with that in mind, I can only imagine what you guys do, how important that is. And also with that in mind, knowing with that kind of in the back of my mind, when I started talking to you guys and hearing about the world of professional fiduciaries, one of my thoughts was, are you serious? Like somebody would actually choose that profession? Somebody would choose to do that? So at first I was thinking, man, I don't know, this could be an interesting group. And then I also heard how excited you guys got about the wine tasting this afternoon. So I kind of know, I got a little bit more of a feel about who I'm talking to here. And that is awesome. So what I know about you guys, I haven't had a chance to talk to all of you, obviously. But what I know about you guys, the reason you would choose to do what you do, it's not that you're crazy. Well, at least, most of you anyway. It's not that you're crazy. It's that you are some of the most caring, compassionate people. That when there is a need, again, you show up, you step up. And I'm betting that's not just with your clients. I'm betting your friends, your family. People know that they can count on you. You're the type that if somebody has a need, you'll give 125% to meet their need. But you can't give 125% unless you find where you're going to get that extra 25%. Well, you'll sacrifice yourself to do that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Would that be an accurate statement about you guys? That's why I'm honored to be with you guys, because that is just, that character is amazing and it's so needed. But at the same time, you can run yourself ragged. You can push yourself too far. So this session this morning, this is all about you. This is a time, in my mind, I think of this like a a little retreat within this conference can be a bigger retreat for you guys, but this session that I've put together, that I want this to be like a retreat for you guys, for it to be an opportunity for you to sit back, to relax. There'll be some opportunities to laugh, as we've already done, to have some fun. But I also want to share some practical strategies with you, some things you can apply immediately in this conference, but then most importantly, things you can take back home. Because like Richard said, I am an entrepreneur and small business owner. We're in different worlds, but similar demands. I mean, I have just such high regard for anybody who's in the world of small business. I think business is a force for good in our world, but at the same time, I know business can absolutely rob you of your life if you're not careful of it, because it is so demanding. So for me, over the last 18 plus years, I've been working with all these great thought leaders and speakers, like Richard mentioned. I've been sort of in the position being a liaison of sorts between these speakers and organizations that call on me to when they want to boost morale, when they want to improve productivity, boost sales, whatever it is. So I've kind of had a front row seat to the best thinking in personal and professional development. I mean, leadership, marketing, sales, motivation, you name it. I could make a call, I could send an email and get the best advice in the world. But at the same time, with that, I found myself struggling in my life, in my business, in my marriage, my business, finances, parenting, all that. I found myself struggling. And I mean, how could that be? How could somebody have access to all that information, yet be struggling? And something occurred to me. Well, for one thing, I think anytime we're struggling with anything, it is rarely, if ever, due to a lack of information. It's not a lack of information. The problem is the best advice in the world is meaningless unless acted upon. Would you agree? Yeah. So it's about the implementation, not the information. So why is it? Have you ever learned something, maybe at a conference, a previous PFAT conference, you've learned something, and you think, yeah, that would be really good. I need to implement that in my life. That would be amazing. And then the conference goes on, the book goes back on the bookshelf, whatever it is, and then you do nothing. Has anybody else done that? And yet we think of ourselves as intelligent people. But why is it that we do this? Why is it that we can't do the things that we want to do, that we know we should do? And that conversation obviously has been going on for a long, long time. So I don't have all the answers to that, but one thing that did become very clear to me, the only time and place you can act on what you know, do what you want to do, is right here, right now, in this moment, right? But this moment, as simple as that sounds, like, okay, great, Shawn, I came all this way to hear that. Could have figured that one out. So why is it then this moment? Why can't we do what we know in this moment? Well, it's because how often are we really present in this moment? I mean, physically, yes, we are here in this moment. But in just the few minutes that you've been in here, how many of you have already had a thought about something outside this conference? Anybody else outside this? Look at that. My job is hopeless. No, well, it's no wonder. It's because that's what we do. We're always thinking. Our mind is always going. We're always in, always on. And that's what you guys do. That's the nature of your work. So while we're always physically in this moment, we're not always mentally in this moment. So today, in this presentation, we're going to learn some things we can do to help us get into the moment. And this is something that I've had to learn for myself, because about 6 years ago, in 2011, that's where I found myself kind of beaten down, burned out. I looked around at my life. It wasn't what I wanted it to be, and as I mentioned, personally, professionally. So I took inventory, and what I realized is, at that time we had come out of the recession, and my business revenues had dropped 50+%. I was a sleep-deprived parent of a young son, and all this, though, it wasn't just, that didn't just all happen all of a sudden. That was an accumulation. Things had been moving in that way, and what I realized is that I had been living, waiting, dreaming, hoping, praying for this place that I call Someday I'll. If you ever dreamed of that place called Someday I'll, as in someday I'll get this figured out. Someday I'll get this turned around. Someday I'll get this marriage straight. Someday I'll get this business straightened out. Whatever it is, someday I'll have a better life. But someday never comes, does it? It's always someday. But I can remember sitting in the floor of my office on that day in 2011. It was in the summer. I can remember sitting there, and this phrase, "this moment matters," came to my mind. And at first I was thinking of this moment matters as in, with customer service, with business, with anything you want to do, this moment matters. It's all about the moments, the little things. But then it also occurred to me, you know what? This moment matters because this is life. Life happens here. Nothing else is promised. So there in 2011 is where I made a decision that has really led me on a journey that's still going. But I decided, you know what? I am bigger than my circumstances. I can change this. There's a power within me that I can change this. I don't have to wait. And by the way, the same power is within you. The same power is in each of us. Each of us has a purpose, and your purpose, there is nothing missing. It's not that you have to wait for someday. We live our purpose one moment at a time. So that was the decision I made then in 2011. And I'm not standing up here today to tell you everything is all perfect. I don't have any great pictures to show you of how everything is amazing. Although I did just see a picture of a $250 million house in Los Angeles. I don't know if any of you guys represent that. I'm not sure what's going on there, but that tells you I'm a long way from that. So the journey is still going on. And if any of you guys buy that, invite me over because the pictures look really cool. And there's a helicopter on the roof. But anyway, so today we're going to learn some strategies to slow down, to be here now. And I know you guys have come a long way to be here. Well, some of you maybe haven't come a long way, but you've made a big investment. It's not easy to get here. I know that. I was just talking to Richard. I know that there are bills to be sent out. There's money on the table with you being here. So I want you guys to get the best out of this session. I just saw the evaluation sheets being passed around. If you want to go ahead and write a 5 on there, that'd be amazing. No, I'm serious. I want this to be a 5, not for my own sake. I always want to do a great job. So my goal, I'm bringing my best. I hope it's a 5. But really, the truth is, it doesn't matter what I do up here. I could be the most amazing speaker in the world. I'm not. I could be. And still, you could walk away from this session and have totally missed it just because of what we're talking about. So in order for you to get the most out of this, some things need to happen. And I hope maybe we can make kind of a deal here because it's kind of got to be a collaborative effort. So for this to be the best session, which in my mind, that means you walk away from here and you say, man, that was a lot of fun. I had a great time and I learned some stuff that I can use in my life and business. Would that be a great session for you guys? Okay, good. So if we can do that, here's what needs to happen. I got to bring my best, and I'm committed to doing that. But I need you guys to play along with me, and you guys have been awesome so far, so I have no doubt that we can do this. But what that means is, it means if you hear something funny, laugh. It's okay. Exactly. Good. Okay, we don't need any rehearsal on that. I love that you guys are so much fun. So laugh. Awesome. This is going to be fun for me, too. So thank you guys. I give you guys a 5. No, so laugh. If I ask you a question, if you know the answer, and I promise you always know the answer, shout it out. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. I don't want to just be standing up here all alone. Here's the funny thing about speaking up here is, when I speak, people always come up to me and they'll say, man, Shawn, I wish I could do that. And, speaking is one of these great fears people have. Like, I wish I could do that. I could never do that. You have no idea. I'm so shy. And here's the thing. Like, I do know. As a kid, I was the shyest kid in school. I can remember actually in 3rd grade, I can remember sitting in class in 3rd grade. My teacher was Miss Weicker. And I remember sitting in this chair close to the door, on the aisle closest to the door. And I was sitting there, and she's in the front of the room teaching. And I needed to go to the bathroom. And I was so shy, though, I wouldn't speak up. I did raise my hand. I at least did that. But she's over here teaching, and I'm raising my hand because I got to go pee. And I'm sitting there like a little 3rd grader, trying to hold it. I'm like sitting there. And I wish she would look at me, but she's not looking at me. And of course, all I should have done was speak up or walk to the bathroom, whatever it is. Like, it's an emergency. You got to do what you got to do, by the way. If there's an emergency here, you got to do what you got to do. So I'm sitting there, and my hand is up, and I'm waiting, and I'm hoping she's not calling me. She's teaching. I don't know whatever she's teaching. Finally, she looks at me and says, Shawn, and all I could say was, too late. So when somebody talks about being shy, I know about being shy. And the reason that I am up here now talking to you is, again, because I love supporting entrepreneurs, small business owners. I believe what I'm talking about today, it's not something that I just read in a book and thought, oh, that'd be fun to talk about. It's stuff that actually I believe sincerely has saved my life. It's been transformational. I hope it will be the same for you. But as I said, that means we got to participate. We got to play full out, have fun, shout out the answers. If you find something meaningful, write it down. Are you guys with me on that? Can you say yes? Yes. Okay, awesome. Great. So here's the thing. This conference, if you look around the room, this gathering of people, this will never happen again. I mean, this conference, yes, go ahead, register now, 2018. I'm sure we can accommodate that. But this specific gathering, the energy that's in this room, this will never happen again. There's an old proverb that says you can never step in the same river twice. This gathering that's because of the energy of you being here, of you, each of us, this gathering will never happen again. So let's take this in. Let's enjoy it. Let's be here. Let's have some fun. Make the most of it. You guys, does that sound good to you? Okay. All right, guys, go ahead and stand up. You guys have been sitting. I can tell you guys are a fun group. So let's go ahead. You can stretch out, sing along. Can we turn that up a little bit? All right, guys, come on. Come on, guys. We can make it a party in here. We can start this out the right way. All right, turn around, give 3 high fives. High five some people.
Who wants to know what your name is? I can put it down.
Shawn.
Shawn.
Yeah, Shawn. I'll give high fives here. Hey. Yeah. All right. You guys absolutely rock. You guys are amazing. All right, so here we go. Life is an accumulation of moments. Some of the moments are big and just these monumental moments like your birth, I don't know, your first kiss, first time you drive, I don't know. I remember the first time I drove down Lombard Street, by the way, which was something else for a kid growing up in the country. So you got these big monumental moments. And then if you look, though, on the timeline of your life, these big moments, I mean, they're kind of spread out, right? But what about in between? In between are just a lot of mundane moments, right? Just mundane moments. But here's my belief. If you're alive, if you're breathing, then this moment you're alive, this moment is a gift. I love a quote from a guy named John Kabat-Zinn. He said, "Each moment missed is a moment unlived." And I believe that's true, but we do miss the moments, right? We're rushing through. We talked about that. But you know who doesn't miss the moments? Kids. That is my son Brody, and that was taken a few years ago. Brody started riding his bike when he was around 2, and he's somewhere between 2 and 3 there. And I would always take him to the trail. He loves anything with wheels. Now he's moved on to scooters and skateboards. And I was just talking to him on video chat a couple days ago. He's got a cut on his chin, and I knew that was bound to happen. But anyway, but he loves anything with wheels. So I had taken Brody to the trail, and at one point I was actually sitting on that bench over there. But Brody was riding his bike, and I looked over at him, and I saw this big smile on his face. And I had to get a picture, but then I also had to ask him, I said, "Hey, Brody, what are you smiling about?" Or no, I said, "What are you thinking about?" And you know what he said? "It's not that hard. Riding my bike." Of course, I mean, I'm riding my bike. Like, "Dad, I'm riding my bike, and this is awesome. What else would I be thinking about?" But so Brody loves riding his bike. It makes him smile like that. What do you love? What is the thing that makes you smile like that? I didn't hear that, but riding my bike. Awesome. You and Brody can get together. I'll bring him back next time. Well, now here's the question then. When is the last time you did that thing and just really thought about it? That's all you were thinking about. That's all you were doing. Like, if you love knitting, for example, when was the last time you just sat and you were just knitting? Not knitting and watching TV or knitting and having a conversation, but just knitting. Or if you like playing with your kids, your grandkids, when's the last time you were just there with your kids, just playing with them without, checking the phone and seeing what's new in the business world, checking on clients, whatever it may be. Even if you just like to sit down and watch TV. Maybe it's, sit down and watch a TV show, a movie, a sporting event, whatever it is. When's the last time you just sat down and watched TV and you didn't have your laptop on your lap or right next to you? That you really just did that? Let me ask, how many of you have done that thing and just enjoyed that thing within the last week? Raise your hand. All right, good. Quite a few of you. But a lot of you haven't, because it's a pretty rare thing for us adults, right? Because when we do that, even if a lot of times we don't even take the time out to do the things we love, but then we take the time out, we do what we love. Usually then if I would ask you, hey, okay, what are you thinking about? It wouldn't be, oh, I'm riding my bike, I'm doing whatever this thing is. Instead, a lot of times it looks more like this for us, right? The dogs and the kids got it figured out, but for us adults, we got a lot of stuff going on in our head, right? A lot of stuff. We'd probably be saying, bills, clients, got to get groceries, work out the meal plan for the week. I don't know, whatever it is for you. That's us. But then if you go to the other end of the spectrum, so you got kids who are all about the moments. You go to the other end of the spectrum, there was a survey of people over age 95. And they asked them, hey, if you could go back and live life over again, what would you do differently? And by the way, have any of you ever asked that of your clients? I know that's not always possible, but have you ever had that conversation with a client? Because it might be an interesting thing, yeah. It might be an interesting conversation to say, hey, what would you do differently? Just to learn, to gather some wisdom, see what they say. But in this particular survey, the answers kind of all came down into three categories. Obviously, everybody said different things, but there are kind of like three main categories of answers. And one was, I wish I would have taken more risks. I wish I would have taken more risks. And which, by the way, I had that in mind when I came up here and did that silly country accent. I thought, this could really be bad. But you guys are so much fun. You were kind. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be 95 and say, back on June 1st, I thought about going up on stage and doing that, but I wonder, at least I did it, and that was fun. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But they said, I wish I would have taken more risks. The other thing they said is, I wish I would have done more things that live on beyond me, beyond my life. And then the third thing was, I wish I would have appreciated or enjoyed more of the moments. And really, all of those answers come down to the moments, right? That you take risks in the moment, doing something, investing in something that's going to live on beyond you. You do that in the moment. And then just appreciating the moments. So something interesting then to me is I think about Brody, and I think about those over age 95. So somehow we start out in life, we're all about the moments. If you think, when you came in here, probably some of you just came in, sat down, okay, it's another morning session, let's get this underway, let's see what it's all about. You sat down, you sit and wait. You know what, if a kid came into this room, the kid would come in and be like, oh my gosh, look at those lights, those are blue. That is an amazing blue. How in the world did they do that? Or they, come over here, wow, look at that big screen. What are all those things hanging on the backdrop up there? See, kids have this thing called beginner's mind. So everything is new to them, everything is fresh. They take it in. But we as adults, we can adopt the same thing. We can choose to do that as well. And that's something I encourage you guys to do as you go through this conference, as opposed to just moving through and sitting down in the next session and the next. Look around, look for something that's maybe familiar, but you would have missed, and you can say, wow, you know what? Those things on the wall, that's pretty cool. It's just little bits of life that we can practice. But so kids come in with beginner's mind, and then when we get to age 95 or we get toward the end of life, then people come along, get to that stage, and they say, man, I wish I would have appreciated more of the moments. Wish I would have taken that in. So then what happened in between? What happens in between there? And I think what happens is we get lost. We get caught up in this chase. I think somewhere along the way, we've bought into this lie. The lie that says life is all about getting somewhere, doing something, achieving something, right? So we get caught up on this rat race of life. And let's say that we are here. There's the starting point. We'll call that point A. And we're going to get there. Okay, we want to get here. We'll call that point B. Right? So, and then we make life like that's what it's all about. Life is about getting from here to there. And we get caught up rushing, chasing, striving, pushing, fighting. And that all of a sudden consumes our life. But again, at some point, life will teach us the lesson. Either it's where you get toward the end of life. Sometimes it's that diagnosis that we would never want to come, but sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's, we see friends or family. I know just as it was talked about here, obviously you guys know that in your own community here. I saw my grandmother is no longer here. So, life, at some point life reminds us that, hey, this thing is temporary. You're not going to be here forever. And the thing that I think about with that is, when life teaches you that lesson, because it's going to teach us that lesson. That's a given. But if life teaches us that lesson, it's usually going to be the hard way. It's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable than if we just can wake up to that ourselves. Because the invitation is here in this moment. If there's an easy way and a hard way to learn that lesson, then, today I stand here as the easy way. Just with a gentle invitation, just a reminder that, hey, this moment matters. Be here now. And not just here now, but obviously through this conference, through your life, through your work. And I know that is so much easier said than done. That is so simple. And by the way, a lot of what we're talking about here, just believe me, I know how simple this is, how basic this is. But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. This is some of the most difficult stuff. I'm up here talking about this. I promise you, I'm going to miss moments. I'm going to screw things up before this day is done. I am just another guy on the journey with you. I just happen to be the guy up here on stage today. But they say that when you speak about something, that you teach the thing you need to know. And that has absolutely been the case for me. So there is an invitation here for us to not wait until we get to age 95 to say, man, wish I would have appreciated those moments. I wish I would have been there for that. So then today the invitation is there, but then, okay, thankfully there are some strategies. We can learn some things to help us do that. But let's kind of take a pause here for a second, because I asked you guys if you had some thoughts before, just in the time we've been in here, if you guys had some thoughts about things outside the conference, and obviously most of us had. So what I want to do, I want to give you kind of a practical exercise to help you when those thoughts are racing. And by the way, according to the Cleveland Clinic, we have over 60,000 thoughts a day. Which sounds crazy. And if you just thought, my gosh, how is that possible? There's another one. Over 60,000 thoughts a day. And by the way, one way it's possible is because they say over 95% of them are repetitive. The same thoughts. We tell ourselves the same stories. We try to solve the same problem over and over again. And they say 80% of those repetitive thoughts are negative. So it's just a lot of stuff going on in our head. And it's for me too. So I'm going to share with you something that I found that was really helpful for me. And I want to put something on screen here, if we can get it. Oh, we skipped ahead here. I missed something. I missed a moment. All right, so let's do this first then. Pause that. This is the thing about working with slides. Try to change things up, but the slides say otherwise. So, yes. So I wish the slides could stay in the moment. If they could work on that technology. No, what I was going to show you here when we were talking about the moments, life being this accumulation of moments, that one time I got a Christmas present that was a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle. And I'm not a big puzzle guy. So anytime if somebody gives me a puzzle, that to me I'm immediately thinking, wow, what did I do to you? But this particular puzzle was a puzzle with an image of Mickey Mouse, but the puzzle itself was a mosaic of little tiny images. You guys ever seen those kind of puzzles? So as if I had any chance of putting this thing together in the first place, now it's like all these pieces of all these little pictures, I can't figure this thing out, which is why the puzzle is in storage right now. But it did remind me of this. I thought, you know what? If you could zoom out on our life, I think our lives would be a lot like that. That, if you could zoom out, you would see all these this mosaic of all these little moments in our life. But when you're in the middle of it, you can't tell what the mosaic is, right? You can't see what's coming together. Like, for example, this right here, this mosaic, does anybody know what that is? View from space, that's a good guess. Let's see if you have any different thoughts now. Yeah, Van Gogh's Starry Night painting, right? But you couldn't tell when you're in the middle of it. You think, what is this? That's just a mess of colors. I don't know what that is. But life can be the same, right? When we're in the middle of our lives, we try to, we look at our lives and we think, we know what we want our lives to look like, right? We got this point A to point B. So we've got in mind point B. That's what we're aiming for. That's what we want to get there. And then we look at our life and say, wow, I'm not there yet. This is not coming together the way I thought it would be. It's taking a lot longer than I thought it would take. Or then worse than that, we start looking to our right and to our left, and we say, he's way ahead of me. Geez, he's leaving me behind. How did she do that? How did she make that happen? So we start looking around us, and we start comparing, which takes us nowhere good, but that's all just these thoughts we're talking about. Those are just thoughts we've manufactured, because you can't evaluate your life in the moment. The only thing you can do in the moment is engage in it. You choose, okay, here is this moment, this little tile on the mosaic. It's a chance to put a tile on the mosaic. The only option in this moment, the only choice you have in this moment is, what will you do with this one? Instead of looking at the whole big thing at any given moment, just anything you want to do, anything you want to experience, it can only happen in this moment. So that's what I thought of with this mosaic. But then that brings us back to what I was saying before about all these thoughts that we have. See, those thoughts come into our head, cloud our vision, cause us to pull us out of this moment. So let me share with you this tool that I found for, what is that? Who put this slideshow together? I'm going to talk to somebody. Okay, here's the thing about that. Can anybody tell what that picture is? Surfing, right? All right, good, we're doing great. I'm glad you guys are so much fun and so patient. Hey, it's in the moment, you never know what's going to happen. What I was going to say about this point A to point B thing is that, it usually doesn't go that way, right? Life doesn't go in a straight line. I mean, if you've ever made those plans where you think, I got the 5-year plan. I remember, again, going back to college, there was one college assignment I still remember because I found this paper in a box. It was to come up with a 20-year plan for your life. It's like, what in the world? Who thought of that? A 20-year plan? Like, I can't put together a 1-month plan for my life, because the 20-year plan, it would be amazing. Wow, that's great. I'm going to script it out. It's going to be perfect. Point A to point B, there we go. But life doesn't go like that. It's kind of more like this, right? And maybe we get to point B, or maybe we don't. Who knows where we end up? But what I thought about that with that, though, when I was looking at that, because it relates to that picture, is what do we see here? It's kind of like waves, but it's waves. Water makes waves. Sound is made of waves. Light is made of waves. We have seasons. Well, at least some of us in some parts of the country have seasons, depending on where you guys are from. We have seasons. We have day and night. There's this cycle of life. But somehow we think it's point A to point B, but the reality is there are these waves, and as someone once said, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. And that's what this picture is here. That's what it made me think of. So because, if this is the reality, if we know that this is really just the fabric of life, this is just kind of how this universe we live in, this is the way it works. It's life is coming and going. It's up and down. We'd love it to be always up and to the right, all pleasure, no pain. But it's just not the way it works. So if we know this is reality, then wouldn't it be better if we could learn how to strengthen ourselves and really learn how to thrive in the waves, as opposed to always fighting against this idea of waves and I'm just going to wait till there's a straight line. Something's not right here. But the waves are the reality. So let's try this again and see what the next slide is, I wonder.
This is what we do all day, every day. Surprise!
Good, well, exactly. So, yeah, it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan.
Great.
And you'll see exactly how well I can handle this. After 90 minutes, let's see how I'm doing. Okay, here's what I was going for. Do you guys know what that is? Isn't this so much fun? I told you this stuff is really simple. I told you you'll know all the answers. It's a box, right? So that box, one day I thought I was having all these thoughts, these 60,000 thoughts, whatever it is. I don't know the number. I don't know how they count that, but it's a lot of thoughts. We know that. So I was having all these thoughts, and I thought, you know what? How many of those thoughts actually relate to this moment? Like, how many of those thoughts really matter right now? Like, if you think the stuff that you were thinking about, when we started the session, I'm betting you were thinking of stuff that happened in the past. Maybe a conversation you had that didn't go the way you wanted. Somebody said something that kind of rubbed you the wrong way. Or maybe you said something that you wish you would have said something different. We have thoughts like that. Maybe it's thoughts of stuff that's coming up. Maybe it's probably thoughts of clients, of bills you need to write, things you need to do back in the office that you're missing out on right now. All these thoughts. But if we scan through those thoughts, how many of them actually have an impact right now? I've got a business back home too. I've got clients to take care of. I've got projects I need to work on that I can't work on that right now. But what good would it do for me to think about it right now? If you have one of those emergencies, like if you've got to take that call, then you take that call. But if it's not that urgent, then why let that consume mental energy in this moment and pull you out of this moment? So I thought of this box, an empty box, and I thought, I'm just going to put all these thoughts, everything I'm thinking, I'm going to put it in the box. And I'm going to put it in the box, and then from that box, it's not a box to throw away. It's just a box, just a place to hold these thoughts. And then I can go back and I can pull out the one that matters right now. Like if there is a thought that I need to pull out right now, I'll bring it back. And if it doesn't serve me, I'll put it back in the box. So you can do that right now. And I invite you with this little imaginary box, you can imagine you have one sitting right in front of you. As you're going through this conference, as I said, I want to share some things that will benefit you back home, but also some things to help you get the most out of this conference. Since you've invested your time and money to be here, so whatever you got going on in your head, box it up. Put it in the box. Again, it's not trash. It's not saying it's not important. It's just kind of in this place. Okay, now I know where that is, but I don't have to deal with that right now. So we're going to take a moment now, and you can just think any of those thoughts that you've been having here, you put them in the box. You can carry that box with you through the whole conference. But now with your thoughts in the box, take a deep breath. Okay, and now check your posture, sit up, because remember, this is the most amazing conference session you've ever been in. That speaker is awesome, or at least I'll pretend he is. Now sit up on the edge of your chair. Like we call this an upright and dignified position. Not stiff, but just here, like I am here. I am in this moment, and I've got to do the same thing up here. So, okay, I am here. Take another deep breath in. Let it out. And I invite you, if you'd like, you can close your eyes during this part. We're just going to take a couple seconds here just to breathe. Because again, we know we've got all those thoughts going. So we're going to breathe in, breathe out, and just feel your body. Notice if you have any tension anywhere, any pain anywhere. Maybe you just feel your bottom against the seat, feet on the floor. Just notice your body, what you're feeling, because you can only feel what you feel in this moment. And if there is any tension anywhere, then I invite you to breathe into that spot. If you could breathe into that spot, if, for example, if there's a discomfort in your back, if you could breathe into that spot, and then on the exhale, feel that tension just dissolving away, sinking out through your body, through your feet, into the floor, just passing away. And again, breathe into that spot or another spot. Exhale. And if the tension remains or if the pain remains, that's okay. We're not trying to force anything because that would only cause more tension. We're just trying to bring our awareness to notice things. And now, just bring your attention back to your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Maybe you feel the breath coming in through your nose. Maybe you feel it in your chest or your belly, wherever you feel it most prominently. And you feel the exhale, the breath exiting your body. And maybe even see if you can feel the breath, feel that slight pause between the inhale and the exhale. But again, we're just breathing normally, just noticing our breath, just paying attention to our breath. And I'm just going to be silent for a moment here, just so you can breathe and we can just enjoy this moment of silence, this moment of retreat. And by the way, if thoughts do come up, if more thoughts come up, because I'm sure they will if they haven't already, this box is at your service. You can imagine those thoughts going along, maybe see a conveyor belt on the back of your eyelids, those thoughts passing along. They're calling out for your attention, but you don't have to listen to them, you don't have to follow them. You can say, oh, that's a thought, I see it, that's a thought. Going down the conveyor belt and then just lands in the box. And then you can bring your attention back to your breath. So now let's just breathe for a moment. All right, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome back. How did that feel, everybody? Do you feel anything at all? Relaxed? Anything else? Peaceful? I heard somebody say tired. Somebody said, I heard one time somebody asked, what we just did there, that breathing exercise, some call it meditation, which is just a word for breathing. Somebody said, man, I feel like I just can't meditate. I feel like I always fall asleep during my meditation. What does that mean? I said, probably means you need more sleep. No, that exercise, it's not about emptying our mind exactly. It's not about having no thoughts. It's about noticing the thoughts. I mean, how many of you, even just in that time where there was silence, how many of you had some more thoughts come up? Yeah, a few of you, yeah. And that's okay. There is no right or wrong way to do this. That's not a failure. That is the practice, is noticing the thought and then bringing our attention back to the breath. Because again, the breath is always in this moment. So I just wanted to kind of take that time out there, kind of allow us to settle down, and then also give you that tool that you can take with you as you go through this conference. But let's go back. I mentioned I had that moment with Brody on his bike that I shared with you. So it was kind of a meaningful moment in my life. Think about a meaningful moment in your life. A moment, just anything, could be anything, but something that just sticks with you. I want you to raise your hand when you've got it, when something comes to mind. Just a moment comes to your mind. Okay. Now, I want you to raise your hand again if the moment that came to your mind, if it involved somebody else, if it's you and somebody else, at least one other person or maybe more. Wow. Almost the exact same hands, the same people. See, that's the thing about moments is here we're talking about ourselves, but moments are about others too. This is life. Life we live is with others. So the moment that came to your mind, I wonder how many of you would say that moment that came to your mind that you recalled, how many of you that moment was in like let's say within the last year, somewhat recently? Okay. How many of you that moment was, say, more than 5 years ago? Anybody? Wow, look at that. That's the power of this little thing we call a moment. These little fragments of life. You see, this moment is so small. I think of it as it's kind of like the building block of life. It's the moment, but those moments have ripples beyond what we could ever know. I mean, how many of you can think of a moment, let's talk about your business for a minute. How many of you can think of a moment where you were with a client and in that moment you know that that's where that person became your client? Either you said something, you did something, that is where, I see hands going up. Again, that's the power of a moment. How many of you can think of a moment where somebody said something to you that felt really good, it inspired you, it encouraged you, it uplifted you, and that moment, let's think of a moment that was maybe more than a year ago, but you can still think of that and it still brings some kind of light to you today. Can anybody think of a moment like that? Yeah, see, our words matter, the moments matter, but here's the thing about those kind of moments, by the way. I bet if you went to the other person and you asked them, and you told them about that moment, like, hey, you said this thing to me. Remember when you said that? That meant a lot to me. I bet they would say, wow, I don't remember that at all. Because that's the thing. Sometimes we are givers of the moment. Sometimes we're the recipient of the moment. But either way, this moment is an opportunity to make an impact in someone's lives. That's what you guys do all day. That's what you do all the time. And, we're talking about this moment thing. Well, okay, is this like, I'll stop and smell the roses? All right, I get it. I've heard that before. But no, what about, all the moments of life? It's not always so beautiful. There are also moments. I remember another moment with Brody. I think I need to, credit him on the half of this speech. He's been the great teacher in my life. But there was another moment where Brody had this thing when he was younger. It's still there a little bit today, but where he would wake up in the middle of the night. He had some sinus issues, and he'll still wake up sometimes in the middle of the night. But when he wakes up in the middle of the night, he cries out for me, calls out for Dad, and I'll go to him. But as you can imagine, being woken up in the middle of the night, I look over at the clock, it's 2 a.m., and thinking, oh my gosh, I got to get up in 3 or 4 hours, whatever it is. I'm not the happiest guy at that time. But I got to go to him, so I go there, And I'm rubbing his back to kind of help him settle down. I'm there by his bed. And the thought came to my mind after first I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get back to bed. But the thought came to my mind, you know what? These moments aren't going to last forever. Just another moment, it's going to pass. Because those of you who are parents, I think it's the most popular parenting advice we get is enjoy the moment because it will pass. They go by fast. They don't last forever. Funny thing though, when you're a parent and somebody tells you that, it seems like they always tell you that when the kid's having a tantrum or like in the middle of something where you're thinking, my God, I hope so. But it's true, the moments do pass. And at that moment, I remembered that piece of advice. And at that moment also, I remembered that, but in a split second, all of a sudden, my body tensed up and it shifted from, oh, let me appreciate this moment to this fear, really, that, oh my gosh, this moment's going to go away. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to lose it. I better be here. What am I going to do? And all of a sudden, I'm out of the moment because I'm afraid of missing the moment. But we can go through life like that as well, because we can't, the only thing we can do with those moments, the only thing we can do is be here, to be present with it. Just like with the good moments, we can't slow down time to make them last longer. Just like with the unpleasant moments, we can't stop or we can't speed up time to make them go faster. It's just a moment. It will pass. There's a mantra that I love that's it is what it is while it is, meaning nothing is permanent. Everything changes. So we can either go through life with our hands tightly clenched, either because, number one, we either want to grasp, we want to hold on to this good moment, oh, I'm not going to let that go. Or it's a bad moment and we want to punch, we want to fight against it, we want to get rid of it. So we can either go through life like that, always tense in one way or another, thinking either, how long will this last, or how fast will this be over? Or we can go through life and we can open our hands, and look at that, that's the right slide. We can go through life with our hands open and outstretched and say, you know what, this moment, I don't know what this moment is going to bring. It could be pleasant, it could be unpleasant, but I have no control over it. It's going to come either way. So maybe my hands at any given moment, maybe I'm going to get metaphorically cool, crisp, refreshing water. Could be a bunch of mud, I don't know. But when we have our hands open, when we're open to whatever this moment brings, then that's when we're able to choose how we respond to it. That's when we can engage. So instead of fighting or grasping, we're just open. And we just allow this moment to be what it is. And then from there, that is where engagement really begins. So we've got these issues where sometimes we're speeding along through life, sometimes we're resisting, requiring, we want moments to be other than what it is. What we're doing here is identifying some of the things that keep us out of this moment and some of the pathways that allow us to engage in this moment. So then it comes down to just, okay, well, we want to be more present, more engaged. We got to slow down and we got to step in. So let's talk about kind of some more practical ways to do that. Because if we talk about slowing down, one of the things we say is that, man, I hope life slows down. Anybody ever said that? It's got to slow down soon. Man, this is crazy, but I know it's going to slow down soon. We're almost there. It's just a busy season. It's going to slow down. I found myself thinking that even within the last month. May was just a crazy month with a lot of stuff going on. And you know what? 99% of it was good, but even a bunch of good stuff can still be stressful if it's all coming at you at the same time. So this idea of slowing down, we've got to slow down, but then there's also this feeling of, yeah, that sounds good, but you know what? I can't slow down. Like, Shawn, I'm like barely keeping up as it is. How can I slow down? Are you crazy? I will be buried. My business will go under. I'll lose clients. I'll be fired. I don't know, whatever the case is. We think we can't slow down. And the thing is, if we want to talk about slowing down, before we talk about how to do it, we got to kind of be honest with ourselves. We kind of get a little bit of a buzz off moving fast, don't we? And getting things done. Because we all want our lives to mean something, and we feel like if we're doing something, then our lives mean something. So I'm checking off the list, and it feels really good, but I am driving myself crazy doing it. So here is a quote. I love this quote from Tony Schwartz. He said, "Speed is a source of stimulation and fleeting pleasure. Slowing down is a route to depth, more enduring satisfaction, and to excellence." See, slowing down. But we love speed. So before we can talk about slowing down, I think first sometimes we just have to admit that, we're kind of addicted to speed. So I'll be the one to step forward and I'll say, I'm Shawn. I'm a speedaholic. Hey, I see some of my people out here. So the idea of slowing down, as refreshing as it is, it also says, no, I cannot, I will not, I cannot do it. But slowing down, really diving into the moments, that's what allows us to actually perform at a higher level, but also to find more meaning, to find more enjoyment. Everything comes from slowing down, because we're usually just kind of skimming the surface of life because we're moving so fast. But the key is, the magic happens when we dive in, when we're really present in this moment. And there is a Hungarian psychologist, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Got it right. Because if you saw the spelling of that name, it's right here, actually. I love that you guys love to laugh because I find humor in the silliest things. But Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, he calls this being in flow. When we're kind of diving and we're slowing down, we're in the moment. He's got a TED Talk that you can watch. But basically, this is how he describes being in flow, being completely involved in an activity for its own sake. The ego falls away, time flies, every action, movement, and thought follows inevitably from the previous one like playing jazz. Your whole being is involved, and you're using your skills to the utmost. That's being in flow. Have you ever felt that before? Where you've just been in the moment, and like time stops, doesn't it? You're just there. And I don't know, maybe it's when you're walking in nature. I don't know what it is for you. We're each different. Maybe it's when you're with kids. Maybe it's when you're with a client. Maybe some of you, I've heard, may find this state when you're working with financial documents. I don't understand. But some of you guys, maybe. But hey, what? I heard that. I won't repeat it. Don't worry. No, everybody's different. Everybody has something different. But so we know the stuff we're talking about, the point with that is that we know what this is. We've experienced this. But a lot of times life just kind of comes by in these moments. They either get us or they don't. We miss them. What this is all about is being more intentional. That's why we have these mantras. This moment matters. Be here now. It is what it is while it is. All those mantras are things you can keep in mind where when life starts moving fast, you can say, whoa, this moment matters. Okay, what matters in this moment? Let me be here now. What am I thinking about? To just do that check-in. And then sometimes maybe we need to box some stuff up. So then we have a chance then to step into this moment, to get back into flow. But again, there is still that thought, isn't there, that we need to slow down, but no, I cannot do it. I will not do it. But let's do this. This will be a gift for those of you who love numbers. Hang on a second. You'll do it tomorrow. There you go. Well, I'm going to do something here since I've got these lovely dry erase markers up here, and since some of you guys love numbers, this will be my tribute to you. Because if we think we can't slow down, let's just do a little math and let's just imagine. Let's say if you've got somebody who works 12 hours a day, and they're working 12 hours a day, they're really going after it. But they're pushing themselves so hard, they're distracted, they're not thinking straight, not able to solve problems effectively, but they're pushing through. So maybe they are working at, let's say, 40 to 60% capacity. So let's say 40%. But now you got this other person who works 8 hours a day. They are a total slacker, working 8 hours a day, taking time out to go to the gym, to go ride their bike, to do all these other things. But during the 8 hours a day, they're able to be more focused because they've taken more time to renew their energy, to do recreation, to enjoy life. So let's say they're still not performing at just optimal level, but let's say they're at like 60%. Well, then if you figure out, okay, the 12-hour person at 40%, does this start to sound like one of those elementary school math problems? Like if Johnny left the train station going 65 miles an hour. So that's 4.8. Let's say that's 4.8 effective hours. And then the 8-hour person at 60%, well, how much are they going to get done? Well, look at that. It's 4.8. And that is obviously not scientific. But the point is, thank you, fact checkers. That's not scientific. But the point is, we will do better if we actually take time out to get ourselves in an optimal state, or at least a better state, more energized, and work. And by the way, here, while that is not factual, there was a study that found that the average worker wastes over 2 hours a day. And I believe it's directly related to what we're talking about, because we're tired, we're exhausted, we're not taking time out, we're pushing as hard as we can go because we feel like that's what we got to do. And those of you who are here, you wouldn't be an entrepreneur, a small business owner, you wouldn't be doing what you do if you weren't the type to push, to go after it. Again, you show up all the time, you step up, you give 125%, it's what you do. So I know who you are. I'm just like that. But we've got to slow down. And guess what? You've taken, 3-4 days to be here at this conference, maybe more, depending on the travel schedule. You've given yourself a time out to be here, yet somehow, I know it's a sacrifice, but you're going to get through it. We took just a couple minutes earlier to just breathe, to just slow down and breathe. We can slow down. The opportunity is there. And by the way, life gives us a lot of opportunities. There are built-in opportunities. We don't even have to waste time. We can, when we're sitting at a traffic light, just pause and breathe. I know one time I realized that every time I would sit at a traffic light, I would pull out my phone to check email. And again, it was one of those moments where I'm thinking, why in the world did I do that? Because there's nothing I can do about it. Why is it? But it's just habit. Actually, Apple did a study, or a report, it was about a year ago, where they found people log into their iPhones 80 times a day. Every 11 minutes and 15 seconds. It's a habit. But we can slow down. But the choice is ours. It's up to us to slow down. That's the important thing. That's really the underlying message in all of this that we're talking about, is there is a choice. The choice is ours. It's not easy, but we do have a choice. And, one of the things, by the way, one of the things that we struggle with is it's not about just slowing down, because that breathing exercise we did, that was to slow down, to renew our energy. But we talked about how these workers here, like this person, is struggling with distraction, and they're not so focused. How many of you would say that you struggle to stay focused during the day, or at least you find yourself falling to distraction at some point during the day? Yeah. What would you guys say? What are some of the biggest distractions you have? What's something that gets you a lot? Kids? What? Telephone? Computer? Yeah. Email? Yes, technology is a big part of it, we would say. And these amazing little devices here that we keep with us, we call them a phone, but how many calls do you take on it? It is a phone, but it's email, it's text messages, social networks, app notifications. I'm actually getting married later this summer, and my fiance is here, by the way. She can wave. Thank you. So I'm treading into risky territory here. I'm about to use getting married and a bad example, but it's all good. No, so have you guys heard of the app Pinterest? Anybody use the app Pinterest? Yeah, so it's this great little app. You can share pictures or post. I think what it really is to post pictures of how amazing your life is, or at least how, in that split second, but the 99% you don't want to show. Well, anyway, that's a whole other thing. But so Pinterest. So we've got this app Pinterest. Crystal set up a wedding planning board so we can share wedding planning ideas, decor and venues and all that kind of stuff. It's great. So she made me a collaborator on the board. So I'm a wedding planning collaborator, which I appreciate the title. But Pinterest is a really smart app, because now all of a sudden I'm a collaborator on this app, this board, this wedding planning board is what they call when you collect things under a certain topic. And so I'm a wedding planning collaborator. So Pinterest thinks, great, so you're interested in wedding planning. Good. So now during the day, even as I'm preparing for this presentation, I get a notification on my phone. What is it? Let's see. Oh, there's 18 cupcake arrangements for your wedding. These distractions are everywhere. See, as smart as Pinterest is, it's not that smart, because what it doesn't know is I'm a guy. I have no decision-making authority in this process. So what I did eventually is I turned off the notifications on my phone, so now it just rings, and it really never does anything anymore. But so again, we have these distractions everywhere. And I heard you say kids. Who was that? You? Yeah. Do you work from a home office? Yeah. How many people work from a home office? And how many of you have kids at home? Yeah. So for you guys, we're gonna have a support group. We'll meet right over here afterward. Because you know what? I had a day, it was earlier this year, where Brody was home from school unexpectedly. I work from home too. And, he was home from school. I think it was a snow day or something, which in Nashville meant there were flurries probably. But so we had a snow day, and he's home, and I'm thinking, okay, it is what it is while it is, right? I'm the moment guy. We're going to make this work. I'm going to have my hands open, and we're going to make this work. So I get Brody set up on the couch to watch TV because I'm that good of a parent. But I'm like, I got to find a way to get through this day. So I get him set up on the couch to watch TV, and then I go in my office because I got this marketing project to work on, and I sit down to work on that, and it's beautiful. It's magic. I figured it out. I did it. That was for a minute. Then I get a call from one of my colleagues who just closed a deal, and he calls me. He says, hey, Shawn, can you do the contract real fast? The client's going out of the office in 2 hours. So now all of a sudden, okay, well, I got to do that. That's a priority? Sure, I'm on it. So I get set up here. I'm going to do the contract. Then I get a call from somebody else with questions about something. So, okay, wait, let me do that. Take the call. Got that settled. Back to the contract. Okay, so I'm going to get focused. What was I doing? Yeah, contract. So I sit down. Then all of a sudden I hear from the couch, Dad, I'm going poop. Because there we are. So I'm like, all right, buddy, awesome. What was I doing? Contract. So back to the contract. Then I hear, Dad, I'm done. And you ever have a day where it just feels like you're dealing with stuff all day? You ever have one of those days? But again, okay, contract. Back to the contract. So I'm sitting there doing the contract. Not much longer goes by. Hey, Dad, can you download this app? I don't know, whatever it was. And okay, in a minute, buddy. And this goes on. It's a day in the life, right? Distractions, always coming at us. They say we're in a state these days of continuous partial attention. There's just so much stuff coming at us. So there's a different kind of CPA for you. But I know if you got kids, that story may sound familiar to you. But even if you don't have kids, I know this is what you guys deal with. Whether it's, you got a client, you're dealing with a client, and then all of a sudden this other client calls, and they got an issue that needs to resolve right now, or whatever it may be. Or maybe you're working on something, and then the court investigator calls, and you got to take that call, right? You can't put them off, so you got to take that call, take care of them. Whatever it is, you got to pivot on a dime, just all day long, constantly having to pivot from one thing to another. And it would be great if we could set all these distractions aside, and some of them we can. Sometimes it's as simple as turning off notifications. Sometimes it's not. Some of this stuff is just coming at us. There's nothing we can do about it, which affects our attention. And our attention is really, if we're talking about being present in the moment, our attention is really the channel that connects us to this moment. Because when our attention gets interrupted, then that affects everything, right? I mean, you can think of it maybe like a lens into this moment, like a camera lens. If the lens is clear, crystal clear, great, you can see exactly what's going on. You can figure out what needs to be done. And wouldn't you say that's kind of the essence of your work, isn't it? Really being able to focus, pay attention, figure out what does this client need? Like if it's a client that has, maybe their money is spread over several different accounts, and you've got to figure out, you've got to sort through it, that takes focus. I was talking with Richard about this earlier, and they call it diversification. For you, it's chaos. That you've got to figure out how to process that. It takes focus, it takes attention. But attention is difficult. So I think of attention like water. And I don't know if I think of those garden hose attachments that you can put on the end of the garden hose, where you can set it to spray or stream. That's kind of how I think of our attention. If it can be set to spray, where we got, again, whether it's all these thoughts, all these projects, all these clients, we're giving everybody 2%, 5%, 10% of our attention, which is of ourselves. Or we can give it focus. We can be focused, we can be zeroed in and give this laser focus, where then that's what gives us an opportunity to get in flow. We box it up, we set everything aside. We can be focused. And it's when we're focused, that's when we have an opportunity to give somebody, give our projects, all of our strengths, our talents, our expertise. It's through our focus. So that's how important it is to be able to be focused. So let's take a breath again. Let it out. And another, breathe in. All right, good. Because I don't know about you, but talking about those distractions wears me out. So what do we do with these things? We can't turn them off. We can't control what happens in this moment. We can never control what comes to us. But Stephen Covey says we can take what he calls responsibility. And what that means is we don't have the ability we can't control what happens in this moment, but we can always choose how we respond. So that's one thing, by the way, that when I was in college and there was that 20-year plan that was a waste of time, I did read this. I learned this in college, and I've never forgotten it. Because I always try to remember that you know what? Whatever happens, that's out of my control. But I can choose how I respond. I have the ability to choose how I respond. And to talk about how powerful that is, have any of you guys ever read a book or heard of a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl? Yeah. For the rest of you, I couldn't recommend that book highly enough. A speaker friend of mine recommended it to me when I was going through a tough time, and it's full of just all kinds of powerful nuggets, because that book was written by a man named Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl was a psychologist, but he also became a prisoner in Nazi concentration camps. So you have a guy who understands the human mind, he understands human behavior, and now he's put in the most difficult of circumstances, and he gets to observe himself and others, all these other prisoners. It's just horrific conditions. But you know what? Some people were able to make something out of that. And here's what he found. In the book, he said that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. So in other words, we got life. Something happens over here. It could be a big life event, or it could be just one of those little surprises that comes up during the day. It's the slide that you didn't expect. But so you've got something happens, and then over here we're going to choose how we get to respond to it. What are we going to do with this? But in this space is where we can process and think, okay, based on my goals, my values, my priorities, whatever it is, you kind of run everything through this lens, and you figure out, okay, what is the right thing right now? What do I do with this? But if we don't have the space, then life happens, and we respond, which is not really a response. In that case, it's a reaction, right? Because if we go through life thinking that we can control everything, trying to control everything, trying to dictate everything, as we've discussed on the previous flip chart, it doesn't work, right? The point A to point B thing, we can't control. Life does not happen in a straight line. So as we're going through the day, we think about being present for the moment, being in this moment, about being intentional. It sounds like that you would want to, okay, I'm going to be focused, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to be in the driver's seat of life, and we hold on to, we're going to grip that steering wheel. If we're going to be in the driver's seat, then we're going to go through, I'm going to hold this, I'm going to white knuckle, I am focused, I know where I'm going. Point A to point B, right? A, B, I see the straight line, here I go. And we go, and all right, whatever happens. And we feel life kind of, hitting us. We feel something coming, distractions, obstacles, surprises. But I'm going to white knuckle. Here we go. I'm going to go. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. Nothing's going to get me off course. Nothing's going to get me off course. Nothing's going to get me off course. And then all of a sudden, the littlest thing sends you off into the brush. And what it practically looks like is you're going through the day and somebody comes to you and says, hey, Susan, hey, do you have that, I don't know, report, whatever it is, some document, some important document. Hey, do you have that? And what happens, and by the way, maybe I shouldn't have called you by name because I don't know if you would ever do this. I should have maybe left this general. So let's pretend, I don't mean to pick on Susan, but I could use myself and say somebody asked for something, they asked for just the littlest thing. What in the world? What do you mean? I don't have that. Why are you asking me? I don't know anything about that. I don't know. And we go off. It's like, no, it's right there. That's I think that's all of us, right? And it turns out the thing was right there on the desk. It was no big deal. So it wasn't that person, it wasn't that moment. There's actually another thing I've heard that, life, there's no such thing as a bad day, there's only a bad moment that lingers. Something happens and it just carries with us throughout the day. So it's not that, but that's what happens. If we try to dictate life, if we try to force life, it doesn't work. That is not living like this moment matters. There's a philosophy. Anyone in here practice the martial art of Aikido? I'm just curious. Everybody? Wow, there are a couple. All right, good. Then this is for you. And please forgive my bad demonstration that's coming up. Now, there is a philosophy in the martial art of Aikido, which I don't practice, but I love everything I've learned about it. But a philosophy called enter and blend, which I read about this in George Leonard's book, The Way of Aikido, kind of relates to this idea of taking responsibility. And here's what he says about enter and blend. He says, when confronted by an attack or problematic incoming energy, the Aikidoist doesn't strike, push back, pull, or dodge, but rather enters and blends, which sounds like something we could use on a day-to-day basis going through the moments of life, right? So what does that look like then? Practically, it says that is, he or she moves toward the incoming energy and then at the last instant, slightly off the line of attack, turns so as to look momentarily at the situation from the attacker's viewpoint. So in my mind, again, not being an Aikidoist, so please forgive what I'm about to do, but in my mind, I think of like, okay, if I was standing here and like somebody was about to punch me head on in the face, my tendency would be either to block that because I don't want you to hit me, or to run, to turn and run. But according to this, it's not about that. The punch is coming, and it says that it moves slightly toward the incoming energy. So in other words, if you twist slightly, all of a sudden the punch is coming, and now from a slightly different angle, you have a different viewpoint that you could grab the person's wrist and work with the energy that's coming and defend yourself. Or, it says, from this position, many possibilities exist, including a good chance of reconciliation. But if our first response is to fight, to resist, to require this moment to be something else, we're going to miss this moment. We're going to just spend our lives waiting on the sidelines, either waiting for that perfect moment to come, where, okay, then that's when I'll be happy, that's when I'll engage, someday, right? Or we just spend our lives always just exerting energy, fighting, pushing against whatever happens. But if we choose to enter and blend, maybe there's another possibility there. Maybe there's another way we could look at things. Can you think of a practical way you could apply that in your life or in your work? Maybe a conversation, you enter and blend, take responsibility, that the person comes to you and they say something, they ask something, and your first reaction may be something that's not the best response. But if you can take a breath, this thing we've been practicing today, okay, let me think about this. What would be the right thing right now? There's another option. For me, by the way, bookkeeping. I'm not the numbers guy, but bookkeeping is a necessary part of what we do. If you're in business, there is bookkeeping. And so for me, like I dread bookkeeping. I will resist bookkeeping all day long if I'm not careful. But what I found though is it's really not so bad. By the way, like it's just numbers, and it's usually not what we think it is. Again, there are those thoughts. Like it's usually, we run everything through this filter, through this lens. We give it meaning that, in my case, maybe I would say bookkeeping is bad. In your case, maybe you would say, I never want to get on stage and speak, whatever it is. But it's really not the thing. It's our thoughts about the thing. Bookkeeping, if I sit down, I can actually settle in and enjoy it. I can actually have fun with bookkeeping and running numbers and getting the reports, and it is pretty gratifying when you see it all come together in the end, and oh wow, look what I made. There's fun to be had there. But can you think of a way that you could apply this on a day-to-day basis? Does anything come to your mind where you could potentially implement this? Allowing the moment to be what it is, and then choosing how you respond, choosing to enter and blend. Because this is true engagement in the moment. All right. Now, here's the thing about all this stuff we're talking about. It takes energy. And I can tell right now, our energy in the room has come down a little bit. So, everybody stand up. Shake it out. All right. So, here's the thing. Everything we're talking about takes energy. This idea of focus, of allowing this moment to be what it is, I mean, it takes energy. And we know energy is something we're lacking because look at the multi-billion-dollar energy drink industry. We got coffee on every corner, and I love coffee. But the Center for Disease Control actually put out a report and said we have a national epidemic of sleep deprivation. So energy is something we're lacking. So we can use some more energy in this room. You can bring energy into this conference, and as you go back. So what we're going to do here, sometimes breathing works. Sometimes taking a breath, that gets us energized. But sometimes we need to move around, right? So we're going to do some just kind of gentle stretching movements. And by the way, let me just put a disclaimer on this. I don't know anyone's health conditions, so obviously you do what is right for you. Don't push yourself beyond what is comfortable. This is all just gentle. We're not going to break a sweat, nothing like that. All right, but first of all, just kind of shake out your body. And these movements we're going to do are from the Chinese art of Qigong, which is sort of like Tai Chi, if you know that, or if anyone practices. All right, awesome. So in Chinese healthcare, this is actually something they've used for thousands of years for health maintenance, for vitality, for healing. But it's movement with breathing is what it is. So the first movement we're going to do is called water swings. So I have a nice visual aid for us here. So check your posture. If you stand with your feet about shoulder width apart and knees slightly bent, bottom toward the ground, shake your butt a little bit. It's always good. It's not part of the movement. I just want to see if you'd do it. All right. So bottom toward the ground. Imagine if you had a tail that was like pulling you down, if you were a dragon or a dinosaur, if you want to pretend that. Bottom slightly down, back is straight, shoulders back. Imagine your head is being pulled up by a string. So nothing is stiff, but just got a good posture. Take a breath in and out. Now this water swings is because we want to imagine now that you're standing in about waist-deep water. And we're just going to start swinging from the shoulders, so our arms just are going to be sort of like a rag doll. Just let your arms swing freely. The motion comes from your shoulders. And if you were standing in water and your hands were cupped, you would feel the water against your hands, right? So bring your attention to your hands, to the palm of your hand, and just see if you feel anything. You feel any tingling at all. Maybe you just feel the air against your hands. But bring your attention to the palm of your hand and don't forget to breathe. Just keep breathing. In this motion, obviously it loosens up the spine. It's also a detoxifying motion as it allows your organs inside to move around, and it's good for the digestive system. It's just a gentle stretching motion that you can do this anywhere. Just stand up and swing your arms. All right, now you can kind of let that just come back to a stop just naturally and shake that out. You guys are doing great. Everybody okay still? All right, you want to do a couple more? Okay. So the next one is called arms circling the moon. It's not that bad. So check your posture again. And again, shake that butt. Good. All right. Hands in front of you. Now what we're going to do, I'll demonstrate this and you guys can follow, but it's made to be like one fluid motion, and there's an inhale and there's an exhale. There's a breathing with it. But so arms are going to cross in front of us, and if you look up and imagine your arms circling the moon, and then as they come out, your palms turn downward. You guys might need to spread out a little bit. I forgot to say that. Or hug your neighbor. We'll change this movement. So circling the moon. So we're inhaling as we go up, and as we come down, we exhale and kind of sink down a little bit. Inhale up and out, and then we shift to an exhale. You guys look great, by the way. Doing awesome. Exhale. Let's do one more. Inhale up. Arms down and exhale. All right, now shake that out. All right, now one last movement. This one is called swing the rainbow. And this is actually a physical movement that allows us, it kind of gives us a physical representation of what we've been talking about, just allowing the moments to be what they are, just accepting whatever life brings, having our hands open, our palms open. Because for this movement, we're going to again get back into our posture. Seeing if I didn't say shake your butt, but some of you did anyway. It's good, so you got to have it. As you go through the day, you can always shake your butt. So this movement is going to be slightly off center. So we're going to shift our weight to our left leg slightly, and our right palm comes out to our side. You guys can maybe stagger yourselves a little bit in the row if you can, or do a modified version of this. I know this is not exactly, it's not a yoga room here, I know. We're making a makeshift room. So with your right hand out to the side, left hand up and over, and I just wanted to see you guys do that. No, I'm kidding. This is, we're going to do the YMCA. No, I'm kidding. All right, so now what we're going to do is here is like half the rainbow. And we say in the right hand, I will receive whatever is pleasant, whatever gifts this day has, I will accept it. And then we're going to shift our leg to the right and swing the rainbow, or shift our weight to the right, hands go to the left. And now in the left hand, I'll receive whatever is unpleasant, maybe whatever is undesirable, but it is here. And now we can swing the rainbow back and forth and just breathe as you go. You can kind of just do that at your own pace. It stretches your side, your arms. And don't forget to breathe. All right, do one more to each side. The right and the left. All right, and shake that out. All right, you guys can have a seat. You guys were awesome. How did that feel? Wonderful. Good. So now you guys have some practical tools you can take with you to integrate this into your lives. You got the breathing. At any given time, you can take that time out to breathe. Just, all right. You can box up the thoughts. You can do that movement. You can do a modified version of that even sitting at your desk if you want to. You don't have to stand up. But anywhere, as you go through this conference, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming at you this weekend. I've looked at the session. I know there's a lot of great programs, really important stuff to be able to be a professional fiduciary, to be the best professional fiduciary, which is why you guys came. You guys are the best of the best. You wouldn't be here otherwise. So a lot's going to be coming at you. You can use this stuff to be able to settle into the moment, settle into this session, to realize, okay, what matters right now? To enjoy the people most of all, because remember, this gathering is special to enjoy the people. So you got some practical things, got some concepts, some ideas. Now let me give you what I call my recipe for a good day every day. Anybody like to have a good day every day? That'd be amazing. What actually is possible. Now it depends on what your definition of is of a good day. If your definition of a good day is everything always going up and to the right, all pleasure, no pain, that's not what we're talking about. This whole thing is about just learning to work with life as it is. So here's my recipe for a good day every day, just something you can take with you and practice. Number one, step one is to just be and just breathe. It's a great way to start the day. Because what happens? Usually we get up in the morning, and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand on this, but I'm guessing some of you, because I've been guilty before too, first thing you do when you get up the phone is you get up, you check your phone before you even get out of bed, and you are already in the rat race. But even if you don't do that, you get up, you get out of bed, and all of a sudden you're working with the kids, and whatever it is, you are off and running, you are on the treadmill of life. It will not slow down for you. Because that's the thing, we talked about slowing down earlier. If you think about your life right now, compared to 5 years ago, is life moving faster or slower than it was 5 years ago? Faster, right? So life is not going to slow down for us. We have to slow down. And the best way to do it is when you start the day, just be, just breathe. Settle in. Set your intention. I'm going to be more present for more of the moments today. You can set your intention. And then from there, step two is to put out the welcome mat. Because again, you don't know exactly what's going to happen on any given day. You don't know what this day is going to bring. But a moment's going to land on your doorstep. And the best you can do is just put out the welcome mat. Because sometimes the guest, it's just the person you wanted to see. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting to see you. Maybe it's a new client. I don't know, whatever that thing would be. It's a new TV at the door. I don't know. But sometimes life just gives us these amazing things, right? I call that just grace. Like there's just this grace in life that sometimes great things just happen. But then sometimes, something shows up. It was, the news didn't come the way you thought it was going to be. This thing didn't go the way you thought. This deal didn't go the way you wanted it to go, or it's an unpleasant conversation. All we can do is put out the welcome mat and then invite it in and say, okay, I don't know about that, but let's see. Let's try to figure this out. Just put out the welcome mat. Step three, take in the good. See, if I ask you, how many of you right now would say life is just perfect? I wouldn't change a thing. I don't know, would anybody say that? There are a few of you. Awesome. Good. And then how many of you would like to at least make some small improvement? And I just figured out who won't raise their hand no matter what I ask. No, I'm just playing around. No, take in the good. Because see, those of you who said life is just perfect, it's exactly the way you want, you are still at risk of missing the moments. Just because everything is great, we can still be moving so fast that we miss the moments. Because our mind will always shift to what is negative. It's just kind of the way we've been wired. It's the way we've been programmed. It's what we've done for years and years. I mean, once upon a time, there was a saber-toothed tiger in the bushes, right? So we got to shift to what could harm us. But that doesn't serve us so well. Those are those 60,000 thoughts that are racing through. We got to decide which of those thoughts are we going to hang on to. So take in the good. Find something good to appreciate. Practice gratitude daily. That's what we can do when we show up for the moments. And admittedly, sometimes it's harder than others, but I took this picture, and I don't know if you look closely there and see what doesn't belong in that picture. So I was walking through the grocery store aisle a couple weeks ago, and I was obviously walking down the beer aisle, and I had a kind of a rough day. Maybe those were correlated, I don't know. But I was walking down the aisle, and I saw this, and all of a sudden, I laughed inside. And I had to take that picture, but I thought, you know what? Somebody had a worse day than I did. Because I'm imagining some guy got the call from his wife and said, hey, honey, would you pick up some milk on the way home? And he said, sure, yeah, I'll do it. And, probably was, I'll do it, okay. And then he got it. His mission was a success until something happened. I don't know what it is. And now all of a sudden, the half gallon of milk is there and the case of beer is gone. So I'm imagining little Johnny the next morning, like, pouring his bowl of Lucky Charms. Hey, where's my milk? So sometimes, take in the good, whatever it is. Find a reason to smile, enjoy life. And also to just shine your light every moment. This is what you guys do. This is what you are wired to do, to be compassionate, to be caring. But at the same time, in the busyness of life, we can lose sight of that. But I believe you each have some unique talents, gifts, expertise, something that only you can bring into this world. And you absolutely need to bring that on a day-to-day basis. But I also believe we each have a responsibility to shine this light, this greater good of hope, kindness, compassion, love. So just look for opportunities. Sometimes, by the way, it's just as simple as smiling. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but shine your light. And number 5, celebrate. Just celebrate every day. If you're alive, if you're breathing, this moment is a gift. But again, life has a way of beating us down, doesn't it? I mean, we go through the day, we get to the end of the day, and we think, man, there's so much stuff I wanted to do that I didn't do, didn't get done. I'm not where I want to be. But if you look at your life right now, I mean, really, take a look. Think about where you are now. How far have you come from where you started? Maybe you're not where you want to be, but how far are you from where you started? See, there is a reason to celebrate. And by the way, this is something that I struggle with myself, that I've got to get better at this myself. But every day, there's a reason to celebrate. And let's not leave here without celebrating here. Okay, so stand up one more time. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start celebrating now, and you guys can keep celebrating throughout this event. So what I want you to do, put your right index finger in the air. Bring it down to your chest. And now, on the count of 3, we're going to turn to somebody next to you. On the count of 3, I want you to think about how far you've come, so you can say this with sincerity and say, I am amazing. All right? See, you guys laugh. That's how uncomfortable it is for us to celebrate. All right, you ready? 1, 2, 3. I am amazing. All right, now look back at that person. All right, look back at that person and say, yes, you are. All right. Now give somebody a high five and have a seat. Thank you. Thank you. All right. How you guys feeling? Good? Awesome? Very good. Very good. You guys, I love your celebration. I love your energy. I am so glad to have been here with you guys today. How many of you have found something today that you can take with you, that you can apply? By the way, you can have a seat if you'd like, or you can stay standing. Sit. All right, so you don't have to wait till you get back home to apply this. All right, if, as a matter of fact, if you wait till you get back home, it's too late. Because when you learn something, you got to start. You got to take action with it. Otherwise, again, remember like we talked about in the beginning, how we've all learned something, and then we said, oh yeah, that would be awesome, I'm going to do it, and then we don't do it, right? So going through this conference, practice taking a breath. Bring your attention back to this moment. And then when you do get home, I know some of this stuff is hard when you get back home because we got the best of attentions. We're in this amazing meeting space here. But those of you who say you found something helpful, would you like some extra help when you get back home, by the way? Okay, because I created something. I'd love to help you guys. It's totally free, but every one of you, I hope you'll participate. I created something, I call it the Mastering the Moments 5-Day Challenge. And it's totally free. It's an email-based thing. And right there, you've got permission now to take out your phone if you'd like. And you can text MOMENT to 66866. If you enter 66866 as the phone number and then text the word MOMENT, it'll reply back to you and ask for your email address. And then what I'll do, starting on Monday, I'll send you a recording of the breathing exercise, the box it up breathing exercise. And the challenge is, if you'll do this every day I'll send you for 5 days for next week. I'll send you an email each day, just with some little nugget or some little idea, concept you can apply to be more present, more engaged for more of the moments during the day. And the challenge is to see if you apply that over the course of 5 days, find out if you're not happier, if you're not more productive, if you're not performing at a higher level. There's nothing to lose, right? So again, that also allows us to stay connected beyond this because I absolutely loved being here with you guys. I hope this will be just the beginning. But everything we're talking about is about being more present, more engaged for more of the moments. Oh, sorry. You want that again? There we go. Sorry about that. I'll leave that up for you. But what this is, it's not just about showing up for the moments. If you actually implement this, if you practice this, what it brings is resilience. Because life is going to throw us some curveballs. That's what it does. Life has some really amazing things, but then there are also some challenges, some really difficult things. And I believe resilience is the #1 skill that entrepreneurs, small business owners, small business professionals, really anyone, if you want to achieve any level of success in your life, I believe resilience is the #1 skill. Because if all we did was come in here and we get fired up and motivated and ready to conquer the world, and then we go outside and we hit a brick wall and get knocked down, it doesn't serve us. It's about being able to get back up when life hits you. That's where we can use learning to take a breath, to step back from those thoughts and say, okay, that's just a thought. To step into this moment, to allow this moment to be what it is, to enter and blend. It brings resilience. It opens your life to grace, like I talked about. Sometimes just good things happen. But if you're moving so fast, you can miss them. I believe there's an undercurrent of grace, of good, that's carrying us forward. I mean, how many of you would say whatever you've been through that you are glad to be where you are today in life? Yeah, me too. I mean, I've been through some really difficult stuff over the last 6 years, over the last year, the last 6 months. But you know what? I wouldn't trade where I am for anything. So it's about being able to be present, to show up, to flow through the moments, to allow grace. And we're going to make mistakes on the way. This is not about perfection. That's why I called this challenge, by the way, Mastering the Moments, not Master the Moments, because you don't master the moments. It's always a journey of mastering. It's about progress. It's not perfection. We're going to mess up, and you know what? It doesn't matter what happened in the last moment. It doesn't matter what you did, because guess what? A new moment starts right now. This moment. You are here now. And the question is, just like that mosaic, the question is, okay, here you are now in this moment. What will you do with this one? And I believe even more importantly, when I started this journey, I was focused on what will you do in this one. I believe an even more important question is who will you be in this moment? Who will you be in this moment? But the past, it doesn't matter unless you live there. This moment is new. This moment is an opportunity to turn it all around. Whatever it is that you're aiming for, the grand mosaic, in the end, it's going to be a masterpiece. If you don't like where it is right now, this moment is an opportunity to turn it all around. This moment matters. Thank you, guys.
So, Shawn, thank you very much. You effectively ruined my life. You're dealing with a bunch of people who believe they're in control, but at least we have some tools to recognize how to deal with that going forward. So we got a very short break, so hopefully you've picked out your breakout sessions. So we'll move out to the breakout sessions, and we will talk to you later on. Please fill out your evaluations and hand them in, put them on the chairs at the end before you leave the room. Thank you very much.